out there. Hello, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Payton on the Radio podcast. As we slowly wait to get people in on the streams, I will quickly tweet out that we're live to everyone. And today we're going to have my special guest, my buddy boy, Calvin, on the show today. How's it going, my man?
Well, I'm happy that there's NHL regular season hockey, and we're in week two now. Today officially kicks off the second week. Although, if it isn't already obvious, as a Flames fan, I'm not very happy with the first two games. There's certain things here and there, but the record not ideal for first two games.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, I'm doing fine. As an individual, doing fine. It's October. I love that. Because, Halloween. So watch scary movies. Get to watch hockey in between that. Watch a movie. Pause. Watch the hockey game and go back to watching a scary movie. It's good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it is exciting stuff. It really, really is. Did I accidentally click on the wrong scheduled stream? Hang on, let me see. No, I did click on the right one. I tweeted out the wrong thing, link, but that's all right. We could fix that up right quick. And it's been a pretty good week. I've been working my ass off the last few days, so I've been pretty busy. Tonight we get to also watch the Ducks versus Oilers game right after the podcast today as well.
Go Ducks.
No, I don't know why you should be cheering for the Ducks. They just beat your ass.
Whoa! You got a point. I wouldn't say that was beating our ass. They just had to come back. Flames. They don't like to hold their leads very well. So
apparently not. They do not like to hold their leads. Oh my lord! I am pressing the wrong buttons. There we go. I don't know why it always takes me the longest to post out links. There we go.
Does NHL still do the multi-window where you can watch like 3 or 4 games at once, or do they stop doing that?
I'm not too sure.
I wish if they don't NHL, if you're paying attention, like with your streaming service, please make it where you can watch like 8 games at once, because that's much more convenient than having to flip through them all.
Thanks, Marcus, for telling me that there was a little bit of an echo. I just fixed that up. But welcome, everyone, to the very first ever episode of the Payton on the Radio podcast. So basically, we used to do a PCM hockey podcast on another channel, but now we decided to do it on the main channel as well. So we're just now going to, title it as the Payton on the Radio podcast, where we talk about hockey. You guys can, tell us what we want to talk about. If you guys want to talk about the Dylan Strome rumors, or Edmonton Oilers, or the Vegas Golden Knights, or whatever it may be, just tell us what you want to talk about, and we will certainly be talking about it. So I think right off the get-go, we're just going to mostly get into talking about the Oilers and Flames, our two favorite teams, and we'll kind of get into the discussion about, the first 2 games of the season already. It was basically played for the Flames. You guys played one against the Oilers and one against the Ducks, and the Oilers already played 2 as well, once against the Canucks and, of course, against the Flames. And tonight we'll be going up against the Ducks as well, so that would be pretty fun. So, Calvin, what happened for the Flames in these past 2 games?
Okay, well, I guess Battle of Alberta.
Yeah,
it's the first game of the season for the Flames. And they kind of were flat. They weren't what they can be. They were very flat. They had some good the end of the second period, they were moving the puck pretty well. Start of the third period, again, they're moving the puck well. But you can't just have little spurts like that. You got to play a full 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You're not going to win games by playing 25 minutes of good hockey, because the statistics would just show.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a lot more games if you're not playing the full 60. So that was an issue. And then they were physical. I can't complain about that. That's the kind of team I'm expecting this year. Is not really a rock'em sock'em offense, so to speak, more just the rock'em sock'em. They're gonna try and batter down the teams we're facing, just beat them by bruising them pretty much.
Yeah,
beat them up so they're scared, move the puck quickly. And that's, I think, what Sutter's trying to implement with the team. And obviously, Edmonton, they had a game already under their belt the Flames were opening their season after 6 days of rest. Like, whoever made the schedule this year, I don't know what the Flames front office did to piss off the schedule maker, or if someone has a vendetta out for the Flames, but yeah, not a great schedule to start the season, to be honest. So I'm gonna blame that first loss on that. Granted, also, I don't think the Edmonton Oilers beat Calgary. It was Connor McDavid that beat Calgary. You take Connor McDavid out of that equation, and it was a 2-2 game. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
But the thing
I mean,
is, it wasn't
Markstrom.
even just the McDavid lineup. There was so many other lines that were doing so well for the Oilers. The Ryan, Cassie, and Fogle line was the best out of the night. 5-on-5
Well,
wise,
you stole
McDavid.
Ryan. Well, you didn't steal Ryan from us, but I mean,
Well, we
former
did.
Flame. It only makes sense. He knows how the Flames operate. He knows how to. He's practiced against multiple of the players on the Flames roster, because like the Flames don't have a huge turnover from last season. Just a few different like
No.
positions are different, but
And that's the thing you got to prepare for is that Ryan was a really huge piece to that depth for us, and I think we actually have a full three lines now. Surprisingly enough, for the Edmonton Oilers, it's not just the top line, and I wouldn't even say it was just the McDavid show, but take a look at how well that second line was doing. Hyman, Nuge, and Yamamoto are shutting down the top line for the Calgary Flames all night long, making sure Goudreau or Kachuk didn't really generate a whole lot because Hyman and Nuge were all over those guys. Even when the top line was out there, they were doing a pretty good job at shutting down those main contributors there for the Calgary Flames. And I think that was one of the biggest things. As Marcus Hunt in the chat, he was wanting us to talk a little bit about Dylan Strome. Maybe potentially going to the Calgary Flames as well there from the Chicago Blackhawks. Hasn't really fit into the depth chart there for the Blackhawks, but is a guy that could be a really big offensive weapon if he is developed properly. And maybe he could be a potential fit for the Calgary Flames. He is a center winger. He hasn't been the greatest center over the years, but in juniors he did get drafted as a center. So do you think Dylan Strome might be a potential fit, for that center core that definitely needs an upgrade?
I don't think so. I don't think the Flames think they need to really add anything right now. Again, it's 2 games in, and then of course everyone's talking about Eichel and that, but and really it's the start of the season. Maybe if like the Flames are not off to a good start and they feel like they need to move some pieces
Mm-hmm.
early this season, it could happen. I just don't think it'd be a smart thing to do right now. Why? You just went through preseason. You didn't really make any moves through the preseason, right? Of course, we're a little bit injured through that preseason. I think I remember hearing that basically Flames had 8 preseason games, and every single game they lost at least one player to some sort of injury
Hmm.
through those 8 games. And of course, like key players, like let's see here. Well, Pitlick, he still hasn't played his first regular season game with the Flames yet because he's battling a knee injury that he suffered in preseason. And then Stone, and Stone is the most veteran defenseman the Flames have this season
Yeah.
with the absence of Mark Giordano.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a key piece for the blue line in depth and in leadership, and he's also hurt. So another reason why I think the Flames aren't off to a necessarily good start. But there are some bright spots though, like Andrew Mangiapane. Great start for him, and it's exactly what the expectations were that high, and he's meeting those expectations, especially with what he did at the World Hockey Championships.
Yeah.
And so he's just continuing to use that momentum. His confidence is up there, like way in the rafters. He's proving, he belongs in the NHL. He's making a name for himself, and he's young, so it's perfect, right? It's a perfect fit right now. Also, Kachuk. Kachuk's starting out of the gates hot, too. He's doing his Kachuk things, and it showed right off the bat against Edmonton. He's really getting under some of the guys' skins, you could tell. And Anderson, too. Rasmus Anderson. There's a big bar for him now that Giordano's gone as well.
Well, especially with the down
He's
season he had last year too. There, he needs to take
yeah,
a big step up as their big defenseman, right? Because he was listed to take over the reins as their top 2 defenseman. Had a little bit of a rough year, and now he's looking to get back on track.
right. And he's expected to lead the Flames blue line.
Yeah.
He's expected to be their leader there. So, I mean, the pieces are there for the Flames. That's why I don't think it's necessarily a big deal to go for Strome right now. I don't think like I said, unless something drastic happens, like maybe in the first 10 games and the Flames have like 3 wins or something,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe don't slam the panic button, but maybe look into that. Maybe look into making a smaller move. I don't know what they would give up for Strome. I can't really, off the top of my head, think of what they
It wouldn't be
could.
too much, but I think like the main focus I feel with Calgary would be Jack Eichel. You need a
Yeah,
center like him on the Calgary Flames without a doubt, and that would fix a
but
lot of problems there
here's the thing, though. It's going to fix a lot of problems
down the road.
for center, yes, and he's a player you could build around, but I don't think the Flames are wanting to build for the future quite yet. They have Sutter for another season under contract, so they want success now with Sutter. I don't think he's going to extend past these 2 years. I really don't. I think he was just aching to get back in the league. He said there was only 2 teams he'd go to. It was either Chicago or Calgary. He thought Calgary had the best shot at the Cup, and he signed a 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was retroactive from when he signed midway through last season. I think it's like 2 full seasons,
Yeah,
if I'm not
yeah, it's
mistaken.
2 full seasons.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so he has this year to see really what he can do with a full season, because he inherited the team during like a COVID shortened season, and with the I guess the one division all in Canada, and wasn't ideal when you're playing the same team like 8 different times. That's not. I don't think Sutter really fit that for a
Yeah.
coaching style. But it was a bite the bullet thing, right? Is make the playoffs, great. If we don't, I mean, we got Sutter another 2 years. We'll try again. Hopefully a full season.
Mm-hmm.
What Sutter knows best. Rock 'em, sock 'em, and Lucic is just going to fit in perfectly to that role, and he's proven that too. He got into a nice tussle, a nice tilly against Anaheim.
Oh yeah.
So, like I said, I'm disappointed with the first 2 games for the Flames, but there's a lot of promise with the team this year, and it's in their hands to either let down the fans again or to, show that this team can really work out, and I think they can. There's the pieces are there, especially with the coaching and the kind of pieces we have. Coleman, of course, he did the stupid thing in preseason, got suspended for 2 games, but his debut, who was the first guy to score for the Flames?
Yep.
Well, it was Blake Coleman, right? That's why we got him. We got him to be that kind of gritty winger that can prove to be offensive as well,
Mm-hmm.
and he did. And of course Goudreau playing well, and the Flames aren't playing bad.
Yeah.
They just need to get some wins. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the big difference there for the Calgary Flames, and then figuring out the new defensive pairings as well. Since you lost Giordano, you now implemented Nikita Zadorov there, which honestly I wasn't a big fan of the Tanev Zadorov pairing. I felt like why not go back to the pairings that kind of worked was with Tanev and Hanifin, who were probably one of the best defensive pairings there for the Calgary Flames last year, and why not go back to them? Because I wasn't really a big fan of seeing Zadorov and Tanev playing, especially in the first game. I don't know if they jump back up against the Ducks in the second game. And Gudbranson and Valimaki, I was kind of surprised of how well Gudbranson played in the system with Sutter, because he was just playing very sound defensively, letting Valimaki do a lot of the offensive work. And my question to you is, how do you like the new defensive pairings there in Calgary?
I was a little shocked to see who got paired with who. And again, I just think we're missing Stone right now, because he really fits in with that veteran leadership. The Flames
Yeah.
relied heavily on Giordano the last few seasons to be that, and now Stone can be that kind of seasoned veteran on the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
Because Anderson's still young. He still has a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Valimaki, very young, has a lot to learn. And then Zadorov, he's just a big Russian defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Tanev, just a big defenseman. He's their second there for leadership for sure, because obviously he's been around the league for a few years now.
Oh yeah.
I think the Flames defense again. I'm gonna say I'm very excited for this lineup. I definitely think there's gonna be a lot of movement in the Flames defensive core this year. I don't think the pairings are going to stay the way they are.
Yeah.
Maybe the only real thing is Anderson will never move below the top 2 pairings.
No.
I don't think he'll ever get moved, and he's going to lead power play 1 as long as power play 1 is doing well. And against Anaheim, I told you this before we started the live stream. Calgary's power play was do really good on against the Ducks. Of course, they didn't capitalize on every power play they had, but it was a lot better for puck movement, getting chances, scoring chances on net. They had the puck down low behind the net, like just able to move the puck around in the offensive zone. And I saw a lot of improvement because last season was just horrendous. Their power play was so awful to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, they weren't the worst, but it almost felt that way. It was just a pain every time they had the power play. You didn't expect them to do anything. Maybe one shot at the most. They just moved the puck too much, like too much. They had the puck high all the time. They just kept it with the defenseman, put it down in the corner, didn't really want to shoot it, and then move it back to the top. But this time around, there were lots of chances from down below, high scoring chances. And so I think there'll be a lot of improvement with the power play. Plus, I have Anderson on my fantasy hockey team, so he better do well on the power play. Get lots of assists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Oilers, man, the Flames are a rebuilding team slowly. I would say they're more of a tweener team.
Yeah,
They're more
fringe.
of a tweener team. They are a fringe team. They're always gonna right now. They're if they were to get a superstar centerman, I feel like that would fix a lot of their problems. The wingers are absolutely amazing there in Calgary. Monahan is a second liner. Lindholm, he's a great winger. He's not too bad of a centerman either. And then you got Mikael Backlund, who is starting to slow down a little bit in his game. He's becoming the permanent third line center there for the Calgary Flames. And I like their center core. It's a deep center core, and I give them that. But when you don't have a big, superstar centerman to help Kachuk elevate his game, and same with Johnny Gaudreau, I feel like that would be that fix. Because Monahan, remember how well the Calgary Flames were when you guys, took first place in the Pacific Division a few years back, when Sean Monahan was absolutely popping off and having a great offensive season with Johnny Gaudreau. And now he hasn't. He hasn't been that main guy there for the Calgary Flames. And I feel like that's just the one little sprinkle added in there for the Calgary Flames that they need to really be that, that powerful of a team. And we'll see if Jacob Markstrom could also continue to be a big step up there for the Calgary Flames as well. We'll have to see what happens. It's only the beginning of the season, so we got a full 82-game season. It's not like last year where we have, 56 games, and the first few games are pretty important no matter what because it's a shortened season. This year we have a nice long season. You're not facing the same team every time, so it's definitely, a little bit of adjustment. And even tonight, the Oilers are playing the Ducks for the first time in since 2019. It's been a long time since, we have faced a team outwards of, the Canadian division. So kind of get into a little bit of Oilers stuff. I was just reading that Ryan McLeod got sent down to the AHL, which I have a mixed feelings about it because, it sucks to have a young guy like Ryan McLeod, who I felt was deserving of a spot up on the main roster instead of Devon Shore. But he loses out to Devon Shore, which it sucks. Devon Shore will be taking that fourth line center spot now. We'll have to see how well he'll do on that fourth line. I'm not too excited about it, but, with Ryan McLeod, at least, like I was reading somebody saying, at least he's going to go down and play fourth line minutes for Ryan McLeod, which I like. I like to see that. For the rest of the team, the Oilers, I got to say, I've been really impressed with the way that we started off the season. McDavid absolutely popping off with 5 goals in 2 games. Jesse Puljujarvi's been looking great. Draisaitl has been looking great. The depth scoring, we actually began a little bit of that. Zach Hyman got the first goal in the Canucks game there. And then Derek Ryan got his first goal of the season against the Flames as well. And Zach Kassian was also looking his usual self this year, which is really, really exciting. And I was saying that in the OGR. It's good to see that from Zach Kassian, to finally see him getting energized and actually doing something out on the ice instead of just being useless, right? Like how he was last year. We don't want to see that from Zach Kassian. We want to see a fully energized Kassian going out there and creating a lot of energy for the Edmonton Oilers, especially for a third line guy like him, who I was bashing on. I was bashing on the guy because I didn't know if he was really going to be that guy for the Edmonton Oilers because of how, he was struggling. Defensively, Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci, I haven't really been too happy about. They've been all right. They haven't been the best defensive pairings in the world either, which is kind of a bummer. But they haven't been looking terrible, and I could give them that. I was expecting the worst out of Keith and CC, and we'd be given a decent pairing. it's an alright pairing. It's definitely not, a top 4 level degree top pairing, and especially looking analytically, this is one of the worst defensive cores in the league. It really is. You take a look at our offensive core, and you could say this is probably one of the best offensive cores in the league. Then you look at, the defense, and it's very below average. Very, very below average. So, Story of the Games, how's it going, bro? How's it going, Dayton? And yes, Buchnevich also got suspended for 2 games as well. Did that actually happen now? Did you hear about that, Calvin?
No, the only suspension I knew of was it Landeskog for that hit the other night?
I can't remember, but I know Buchnevich got. I think he's still awaiting on his appeal.
I do know that Anderson got fined $5,000 from the league for his headbutt. His headbutt
that
on Yamamoto, but
it was a headbutt. Come on.
Ugh. Really? When they're
it's a degree of head
together. Come on.
But Rasmus Anderson was he did kind of go right into him and tried to shove him and did headbutt him a little bit. That's why he didn't get, probably as many games as what Buchnevich is getting, because Buchnevich also headbutted a person when the Blues went up against I think it was against the Avalanche, and he headbutted one of the players in his scrum, which is just unnecessary. If you're going to headbutt someone, don't do it. Just punch the guy if you're going to try to attack him. But yeah, Ryan Cloud is a permanent top 6 player when he's at his prime. Potentially, maybe. I could see him being, our permanent third liner. That's probably Ryan McLeod's potential right now. But you want to get into the Evander Kane situation as well a little bit?
Sure, we can talk about Kane. I mean, the roller coaster that is Evander Kane.
I don't even know where to start with this guy. So much crap over the past few months with Evander Kane, back and forth on, how it's been going with him with, his gambling, then also his ex-wife there. Kane called her arranged. And now he gets suspended for 21 games for violating the NHL COVID-19 protocol, which is just absolutely insane. He gets suspended for 21 games. I can't exactly remember what he broke. Was it because a fake vaccine passport or something like that I seen a meme of? But I don't know what exactly it was.
I think that's what's rumored to have happened. I don't think the league straight out came out and said They just blanket statement in it. And I think really they're just trying to set an example. They're just saying, hey, don't mess with what we're our rules right now. We're trying to keep the league safe and clean and keep COVID away. So don't F with it. Don't mess with what we have in place, or we'll make an example of you. So they're using Kane right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's a weird situation there with Kane. I think, they're going to do more investigations, and I think there's going to be more stuff that gets dug out from Evander Kane's situation right now, because it's a whole mess with Evander Kane. It really is. There's a ton of crap there with him, with, him breaking the COVID-19 protocol list, his gambling addiction, to just about everything. You actually take a look at the San Jose Sharks team right now, and they actually look like a better team without Evander Kane on the ice. They really do. Was Evander Kane potentially a cancer? Most likely. Every team Evander Kane's been on, there's been some underwhelming problems. When he was in Winnipeg, there was a lot of problems with him being, over emotional. He's a guy that likes to flaunt what he gets. When he got paid that big contract by Winnipeg, he went out to Vegas and was flaunting big cash all around. You can see that this guy has been having a problem since day one, ever since he entered into the NHL. A extremely skilled player just having some problems, and I think the NHL needs to address that a little bit, and they need to address things a lot better than what they have had with Evander Kane, because things happen, what happened with Jimmy Haynes, who, sadly we heard what actually happened with Jimmy Haynes, who, unfortunately died to an overdose on cocaine and fentanyl, which is just absolutely tragic to hear about that. We didn't know how he died, and now we figured that out. And I think, the NHL needs to cover on this a little bit more. We've been seeing, situations like the Chicago Blackhawks story where they're, covering up the dirt on that, the sexual accusations on that Brad Aldrich guy as well. NHL has been doing a thing of just hiding up these, dark stories when, they should be doing more of a job trying to, show and make examples and to, try to fix these types of things, because we don't need stuff like this happening in hockey. We really don't. We don't need stuff like what Logan did to that poor lady. We don't need that type of stuff happening in the NHL. These kids and these pros need to be setting an example to not be a-holes and to, show the kids or whoever's watching a good example, right? But I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that magnifying glass is a lot bigger when you're on a grander stage. So you're always on eggshells. You're always on thin ice. Like, you think you're fine, and then for 1 second, but because there's just so much more pressure and media
Yeah.
and people just watching your every move, it's really hard to get away from that sort of stuff and get away and just stay. And I feel like, I hope Evander Kane gets through this fine. I hope it doesn't
Oh, yeah.
affect him like rough mentally, because I know this kind of stuff can really impact that.
Yeah.
And I hope if he does ever feel that way, he gets the help that's needed. Just like how Carey Price straight up decided he needed help. Of course, the league said that he's admitted into their program, but they don't disclose for what. They just say that they're going into the player help
Yeah.
program. So same thing. Carey Price, obviously something's going on with him, and he didn't shy away from that. And again, he's a player that's definitely under a magnifying glass. Canadian market, being called one of the best goalies in the NHL every season, basically, that he's been playing. And there's a lot of pressure on that. So I
Yeah.
can see why that might affect him in a rough way mentally. And it just kind of shows on the scoreboard right now, because the Sharks are... Hopefully you're not recording like a hockey game right now, or if you are, cover your ears. I'm going to talk about the Sharks and Habs. Yeah, Montreal's losing 4-0 to San Jose right now. So that's not good for Montreal. They're having a rough start to the season. So that makes sense for them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's understandable. I mean, the team overperformed massively last year. Was a team that lost a lot going into free agency with losing Deneau, losing Tatar, walking into the season without Weber and without Price as well. You lose 4 big players out of your lineup, and you're still expected to play like a really good team. I knew this was going to be the Montreal Canadiens teams this year. I knew they were going to struggle. But the biggest surprise is the San Jose Sharks, who is looking really, really good to start off the season this year. They're, playing really well. They're having a good start to the season, and we've been seeing, this transition from Evander Kane kind of leaving, the locker room. And I really do hope that, he does get some help here, over this next little bit. But with the San Jose Sharks, they're, looking really good here against the Canadiens. And they won their first game against the Jets. They're looking really good defensively right now. Hurdle had a great start to the season. Aiden Hill, their new starting goalie, didn't look too bad against the Jets. But honestly, the Sharks are off to not too bad of a start for them. How do you think of them?
Well, I don't really pay attention to San Jose too much. I know they're in the Pacific Division, but usually I only really care when the Flames are playing them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I didn't even know their goaltending changed so drastically. I thought Martin Jones was still with the team. I don't even know, where is he now? What team is
Martin Jones got bought out by Sharks, and he got signed by the Philadelphia Flyers. He'll be the backup this year behind Carter Hart. Yeah. Carter Hart.
I'm surprised you said the Sharks are the most surprising team to you this year. I would have definitely thought you would have brought up Buffalo being 2-0 to start the
that team as well, and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's also a surprising team. I think we should cover a little bit of those teams as well, because we'll definitely be getting into Buffalo here in a bit. But the Penguins, if you take a look at them right now, they're out with Jake Getzel, who is out of the lineup. I think he's back in the lineup for them now. Pretty sure. Let's take a look. Yeah, he's back in the lineup for them now, but he missed the first game. And then they also don't have Crosby for the next, still, I think, next 2-3 weeks or something like that. And then Malkin, he won't be back until beginning of December. And he'll be out of the lineup for the next little bit. So
No
Gino, no Crosby. You're missing your 2 big stars. And Jeff Carter's been a massive step up for them. He's been playing great. Dante Heinen's been looking amazing. And it's kind of really weird to talk about these names, because Evan Rodrigues looks really good. I watched the first game of the season, and I was honestly surprised with how well the Penguins played. Jari didn't look too bad in the net. They were getting some offense. They were playing really well defensively. And the Penguins team is looking quite surprising because, especially when you lose your two biggest superstars, you kind of worry about falling behind. But with the Penguins, it doesn't look like they're losing that step right now, and they're playing really good without their two big stars.
You also didn't mention Boyle just walked his way onto the Penguins roster this
Yeah,
season too.
and he
He
looks
was there
really
on a
good.
PTO. I don't think there was a lot of expectation because he was battling his cancer like for most of the last couple of years. So of course he's back due to his passion for hockey because I think cancer would just knock a lot of people down. It's tough to beat
Mm-hmm.
it and then return and then with the again I'm talking about expectations because that's the thing at the start of the season there's expectations for everyone, right? There's only one way to exceed the expectations, and for Boyle it's, well, can he still compete in the NHL? As he's older now, but he proved that in the opening game. He was able to put a tally on the board for the Pens, and he's playing all right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I expect him to get about 10 goals this season. I don't see why he couldn't do that. He's not a bad player. He's a good pickup for Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. And also moving on to the Sabres as well. They're also 2-0. They had the series tied up, or they're right now tied up 2-2 against the Canucks as well, and they're right now up 2-0 on the season as well, and not looking too bad. Even though they've only faced kind of bum ass teams like Montreal and Arizona as well. They had a little bit of a tank bowl, but the Buffalo Sabres looking quite surprising to start off the season as well. Craig Anderson looked good in his first start. Same with Ternarski. Cody Eakin somehow leading the team in points, and a team without Jack Eichel right now, and of course the reemergence of the rumors right now for them as well. It's crazy to see, the start and seeing them as one of the undefeated teams in the NHL, and who will really be the last undefeated team as well.
Yeah, just a quick question. Where'd you see the Canucks Sabres? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sorry, never mind. My
right there.
I guess yeah, just updated right now. I was being slow to update the scoreboard. I do see 2-2, which is crazy. Also, I mean, since we're talking about the Sabres, they're playing the Canucks too. I'm surprised, but I think the honeymoon phase will end pretty quickly. I just think
Oh yeah.
most of their wins are going to come from teams not taking them seriously. And again, it's the start of the season, right? So it's scrambly hockey, and they're just taking advantage of that. But
Mm-hmm.
I still think the over-under on wins this season for them is probably like 15, 20 if they play really well.
Yeah.
Like, and then Vancouver, since they're playing Vancouver, I think we should definitely talk about Travis Hammonic a little bit because that's big news that just came out yesterday. Have you heard about Hammonic?
No, I don't think I have. What happened?
Okay, so Travis Hammonic was expected to basically opt out of the season.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of reports were coming in. Like Hammonic didn't report to camp, and
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
and
that.
they were saying, oh, maybe it's because he's unvaccinated. Like there was just a lot of speculation. And then the team came out on the day where like players basically had to say whether they were going to opt out or not. That Hammonic was going to play. Okay, so they're like, all right, so Hammonic's going to play, but then still didn't show up to camp, didn't play any preseason games. And the Canucks yesterday released a statement saying he's taking a leave of absence from the team. They're not going to comment on it any further. They didn't disclose why the leave of absence was happening. So that's basically what's happened on the Travis Hammonic front. And that's kind of a big hit to their blue line in Vancouver.
Yeah, that is that is because now you have to play Tucker Pullman a bit up, and we were seeing from how the Canucks were already playing. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Vancouver Canucks defensive core in general. Anyways, it doesn't look very pretty, and even some of the Canucks fans, they think that Oliver Ekman-Larsson and their defensive core looks good, but from the first two games I've seen from the Canucks, their defensive core looks kind of rough, and especially without Travis Hammonic in the lineup as well. Now relying on Tucker Pullman and stuff like that to step up. It doesn't look too great right now for the Canucks.
You don't like Hughes on the blue line and Larson back there? I mean, that's a good two defensemen. At least they got two defensemen. I mean, Hughes is still young.
Hughes is good. Larson is, he had a couple rough years there with Arizona. This is kind of a big year to see if he's going to step back up or not. But, watching him in his first few games there, I wasn't really a big fan of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. and especially that defensive pairing between, Myers and Larson. I just don't think it's the greatest defensive pairing in the world because Myers is offensive. He doesn't really play too well defensively. And same with Larson. He's more of an offensive guy than he is a defensive guy. Sure, the offense is going to be great for the Vancouver Canucks. It really is. But I think the defense is going to be a big concern, especially since you're going to have to rely a lot on Demko, which he's been looking absolutely amazing there for the Canucks.
Yeah, that's true. And, I guess what else can we talk about? I mean, I don't have any expectations for the Canucks this season. I think they're going to be a floater team. They could make it. They could not make it.
Yeah.
I'm probably putting my money more on they won't make it this season. But you never know.
Yeah,
it could happen.
That's how I feel about it too. I feel like they're gonna kind of be a tweener team. They have that chance of making it, and they are third place in the division already. Like, this is a really weird start for the Pacific Division. We're seeing the Oilers up at the top, Ducks in
Standings
second.
don't matter until the first
Canucks
5
in
games are
third.
through, Payton.
Well,
I don't even
hey,
look at the standings until
I know,
5
me neither,
games.
but I'm just looking at the standings now, and it just kind of looks funny with Vegas all the way down there at 7th. It looks funny right now, and I'll take that with the Oilers up at the top of the division. But the Canucks are in a playoff spot right now, even though, yes, we are just in the first few games of the season. But the Canucks are in there. Otherwise, Toronto's looking pretty good as well. They didn't, had a little bit of a rough start. They had a rough game against the Rangers as well last night, which is definitely not too pretty. Florida looking good as well. I've been thinking that their team is very, very deep. I've been liking their entire team. St. Louis has also been looking really good as well. Minnesota looking good as always. I think they're going to be a really exciting team this upcoming season. And yeah, I think, did we almost cover everything already?
Yeah, pretty much. But I was just going to add, because I was thinking about Florida and how Sam Bennett, of course, we traded him
Yes.
at the deadline last year. What does he do in the first game with the Panthers? Oh, yeah, he just gets a hat trick. Like, for crying out loud. If you took former Flames players that are still in NHL right now and look where they at with their team, the Flames would easily be a cup contender if they still had those guys. Like, most of those players.
Well, yeah, if Sam Bennett actually played good on your guys' team, he would have been a stud, but he just, I don't know, you guys didn't play him in the right spots, and it was, and he just
some
didn't
players
fit
just
there.
You just don't work out with certain line mates. It just doesn't. The chemistry just isn't there. It's unfortunate to see. I don't want to say he didn't try in Calgary. It wasn't for lack of trying. There just wasn't those pieces there to help improve his game.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I might throw a shot right now and say, do I think Draisaitl would be the elite player he is if he wasn't on a team with McDavid? Still think Draisaitl would be a good NHLer. I don't think he'd be an elite NHLer without McDavid.
I think he'd be an elite NHLer without McDavid.
I definitely think he'd be like a good, like I'm not saying he would be a bad player on another team. I just don't think he'd have the point production that he
I think
does.
he would still be a point per game player. I don't think, no, he probably wouldn't be, a guy that would throw up, 100 points a season, but I think he'd be a guy like Gino, a guy who would throw up, point per game every season, and then the occasional 100-point season. He's going to be an elite goal scorer. It's just, depend on your line mates, and you could almost say that just about anybody. If Tkachuk actually had a good, center, he would be putting up more points than what he is right now. And that goes for a lot of players. Johnny Gaudreau, Bernarin, he could probably even throw up more if he was playing alongside of McDavid as well. It's just, depending on who you're playing with and, what your line mates are. And Draisaitl's game does get elevated by McDavid. Everyone does. Everyone games gets elevated by McDavid. But yeah, it's been a great first episode. I think we'll cap it off here as I'm going to get ready for the Oilers versus Ducks game. Thank you very much for jumping into the first episode of the PTR podcast, as my buddy Kobe came up with that little slogan there for me, the PTR podcast for short, instead of calling it the whole Payton on the Radio podcast. But thank you guys for joining in for the first episode. We're going to be doing weekly episodes like this. We're going to have the next one with some more discussions, and especially since it's the start of the season, we don't got a whole lot to talk about and divulge into. So we're going to be talking more in the stream in about 30 minutes time. I'm going to be going live for the Ducks and Oilers game, so be ready and be ready to watch that game. It should be a fun one. Thank you, Calvin, for jumping on. Any last thoughts there, bud?
I just hope the Flames can get someone in the win column soon. They need it, and the schedule isn't helping them out. Like I said earlier, because who do we have? We have Detroit on Thursday night in Detroit. And then we're in Washington Saturday for an early game, and the Flames play horrible for afternoon games. They never show up to those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I guess I just have to get back to used to these Eastern swings. I know they do end up having a lot of early season Eastern swings. It seems the Flames end up doing that early on in the season a lot of the times. And it's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get back into that mindset. We're not just playing Canadian teams all season. We
Yeah.
are going to play those Eastern, teams. We'll see the Pittsburghs and the Washingtons and Tampa Bay. Ugh. So I guess, yeah, I got to get back into the whole regular hockey thing, and I'm excited for that. But I hope the Flames can at least get a couple wins on this road trip, because they'll need them to hopefully get the season started on a good note, rather than trying to make fans want to hit the panic button too early.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, should be fun next week here for both Oilers and Flames fans. I got 3 big games with the Oilers, so it should be a really fun week. Thanks, Calvin, for jumping on. You should be back for next week for another episode of the Payton on the Radio podcast, so make sure to tune in for that. And we'll see you guys in about 20 minutes for the Ducks and Oilers stream. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Adios, amigos.